Welcome to the Brown Report. It is a wonderful Tuesday evening here in the state of Florida. Thank you so much for watching us tonight on the show. We greatly appreciate it. As always, we are live on Periscope Tuesday through Thursday, not Wednesday night this week, so keep that in mind. The debate is going on Wednesday night, so I want to make sure everybody can watch the Republican debate on CNBC, and feel free to give us a call on Thursday night. Tell us what you thought about the debate. We want to hear from you on the show. Remember, folks, we are live on Vokle, VOKLE.com. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Brower Report. If you like watching live streaming video, we stream it live from the webcam on my laptop during the show. So tell us what you think. There's a chat there and everything else. So tell us what's on your mind. Also, we are live, as always, on Periscope and on YouTube.com. Just go there and search out Brower Report for the news and views that you can use because we're looking out for you, the American people. And don't forget, where we started the show was actually blogtalkradio.com. So go to blogtalkradio.com/Brower Report, and you can download the shows absolutely for free and catch up on what we've been talking about for months now about all things politics, economics, and current news and events. All right, Steven's in the studio, so give us a call. 347-884-8627 is the number. We'd love to hear from you tonight on the Brower Report radio show. Chris Berardi will be joining us a little bit later on, probably about 15 after the hour. He, as always, is a Republican consultant, and he's got a lot of interesting stuff we're going to talk about in terms of the debate coming up tomorrow night, a little bit of preview, and some other stuff that's going on as well. So, as always, Chris Berardi is one of our, I guess you could say, go-to guys on the show. So make sure to tune in through the whole show, of course. But we want to hear from you tonight. So give us a call, 347-884-8627. As I take a drink of my sweet tea that I make at home because I'm too cheap to buy the stuff that's $3 a gallon. I refuse to do it. All right, folks. We got Steven sharing the articles tonight on the Facebook page. I just want to tell y'all something. Y'all are great. I mean, the fans out there are absolutely wonderful. Y'all continue to push the show. You continue to like our articles, continue to share the stuff. I mean, it's amazing what we're seeing in terms of social media. I want to just share something with y'all. Since Thursday night, we had, when we were doing the show, we've had 182 new people like our page. We're up to 2,383 likes on Facebook. So thanks so much for liking the show. And give us a call. I mean, there's going to be a couple of y'all out there that actually like to talk on the radio. Maybe you don't. Maybe you like to, share things online, which is fine as well. But definitely, we want to hear from you on the show tonight. We're talking Paul Ryan tonight. His speakership run. It looks like he's probably going to get it. We don't necessarily like it on the program, but hey, what do you think? Tell us what's on your mind with that. Also, we're going to be talking about Ben Carson, Donald Trump. Latest polling from the state of Iowa, and just a lot of other great news and information. So make sure to comment on the links during the show. And if you would like to, we do take your calls during the show. So don't be afraid. We will not bite you. And we would love to talk to you on the show. All right. So let's start out with, as always, we do our handy dandy list of things to talk about on the show, because we want to make sure that we, keep kind of a timeline going here. There's this thing that's been going around, World Health Organization, WHO for short, and you're like, who are they? I know, who. I get it. So they're the WHO, not the band, but they are the WHO, World Health Organization. They are completely out of control, leftists, goobers, morons, you can say. They're saying bacon can be as dangerous as cigarette smoking. So, you're telling me bacon can cause black lungs. It can affect the way you breathe. Well, I guess if you're completely obese, it can affect how you breathe. But the World Health Organization, and this is from the Daily Caller News Foundation, pull this article. The World Health Organization, WHO, will soon warn that some of America's favorite meats are as dangerous as cigarettes. WHO will target processed meats such as bacon, ham, and sausages as causes of cancer, and say red meat is also hazardous to health and a decision to be released Monday, which is yesterday. The findings resulted from a meeting of scientists from 10 countries. Let me guess, they're probably communist or socialist, right? The Daily Mail reports WHO's International Agency for Research on Cancer will conclude that a host of processed meats should be placed on the highest of 5 possible rankings as carcinogenic to humans. Really? Here's the thing, folks. If cigarettes are so bad, which we know that they are, why does the government allow it to keep being sold? Oh, because of taxes. Because they tax the hell out of things, right? They want to get all this money from you. So the easiest way to do it is to tax things. The state of New York, a pack of cigarettes is like $10. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not a smoker, never been. I've seen the negative effects of smoking on relatives through my life. So I chose not. I've never smoked one in my life. And I'll be honest about that. Never touched it in my life. Because I saw how it affected relatives of mine. So never touched the stuff. Now, I'm a person that believes in freedom. But here's the thing. If you want to destroy your body, we should not be paying for your body to fix it. Sorry, taxpayer dollars should not be involved in fixing you. But now they're trying to target meat. Now here's the thing. United States, we love our meat. Don't touch our bacon. Now I'm curious of these 10 countries because as I am looking through this article, I certainly do not see the names of the countries. Could they possibly be from the Middle East where they do not like eating pig? It's a possibility. It is. Now, I love my bacon. Now, turkey bacon's a little bit better for you. But I do like bacon. And you know what? I'm a guy that likes something on sale. If I buy one, get one free or with coupons. I don't want to pay full price for the stuff. But here's the thing. It's protein. It's not the best thing for you, but it's better than smoking 2 packs a day of cigarettes. I'm sorry. But the World Health Organization's got this all wrong. Now, they won't even, from what I see here, they're not even releasing the name of the countries that are involved and the research that they've done here. So, why are we listening to the World Health Organization tell us what to do? We got to realize this. There's countries out there and organizations around the world that do not like the United States. They don't like our freedom of religion, which is under attack right now, currently. They don't like our economic freedom, which is under attack lately. There's a lot of things they don't like about the United States of America. So what we've got to do is start pushing back and saying, you can't tell us what to do. We've got a Constitution of the United States. And if our leaders decide to get into some kind of treaty that we don't like, we're going to say no. We're going to get rid of them and get rid of that bad treaty. What we've got to do as the American people is start pushing back and start getting involved. Just get away from your keyboard and start getting out there and get out the vote. Get involved. Tell people about what's going on. Get involved with the show. We want to hear from you, the American people. Don't let the WHO, the World Health Organization, tell you how to run your life. Now, remember the government, the United States government said, margarine's bad. Margarine's good for you. Now margarine's bad for you. All these different things. There's some cholesterol is good for you, some's bad for you. They keep changing the rules. So how can we really trust the government? Just like the government said, oh, hey, Obamacare is going to be great. It's going to get all these people insurance. It didn't. People are losing their insurance again. Clear documentation, over 80,000 people losing their health insurance in Colorado because one of the companies that were under the Obamacare state exchange went out of business in Colorado. So you got to think about it. The government is not the answer to everything in this country. It's really not. So let's stop listening to the World Health Organization because it seems like they have an agenda here, a left-wing agenda to tell us that, oh, you shouldn't be eating meat. Sorry, that's what we do in the United States. We have the ability to, we have the land, we have the capability to have animals to eat. I mean, can you imagine back in the 1800s, jerks like these guys running around saying, you can't eat bacon. Okay, they'll be like, you're nuts, throw them in a mental institution. That's how it would be. Now they're saying the same thing to us now. Oh, bacon's bad for you. Red meat's bad for you. Anything in excess can be bad for you. Now, if you're eating bacon straight up, a whole package every day, bad for you, bad for you. So remember, always look at the motivation behind somebody and what they're trying to do. All right. Here's an interesting article, and our good friend Chris Brody should be on in a few moments with us. We'll run this story, and Chris should be on. All right. Okay, so bacon's bad for you, right? You know what's bad for you even worse? Crime. Because crime can kill you, right? Okay. So the Daily Caller ran this article. FBI director ties spike in urban crime to cops fear out of doing their jobs. FBI Director James Comey lent credence to a controversial theory Friday when he was said during a speech in Chicago that violent crime has spiked in many big U.S. cities this year because the police officers are worried that performing their policing duties puts them at risk of being accused of crime themselves. I don't know whether that explains it entirely, but I do have some sense that some part of the explanation is a chill wind that has blown through American law enforcement over the last year, Comey said at a forum held at the University of Chicago Law School, according to news reports. Since violent crime, including homicides, have increased dramatically in many large cities, Comey said, pointing to Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas, Washington, and Baltimore by name. Can we say those are ran by Democrats? Now, I don't know about Dallas necessarily, but it seems like Chicago, Cleveland, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore are ran by Democrats. Strong gun laws, I think, except for maybe Dallas, because that's in Texas. Strong gun laws that prohibits gun ownership in a lot of cases. So, when you not expect crime to be up, criminals know that people are disarmed. They know people won't have guns because they might get thrown in jail themselves and the criminals that they're trying to defend themselves from. How about that? So the FBI director is saying that traditional American law enforcement is having problems. Now, this might be the backdoor way of Obama trying to get a national police force, which has been, wouldn't be circulating within the mainstream media, but it's been circulating around the internet recently, saying that they're trying to form these terrorist anti-terrorist forces between the United States local authorities and authorities from around the world, which is kind of crazy. So very interesting information in regards to, the police officers are scared that they may be thrown in jail, the same criminals they're trying to arrest. I mean, you're trying to protect your family, right? And that's why you're going to see a lot more issues with police officers in the next few years, especially if you continue to have this war on police officers, especially the Democrats. They're always saying, "Oh, we're for the people." Well, when you want to protect your people from crime, it seems like you can't arrest. Someone resists arrest. All of a sudden there's camera phones everywhere. This is one of those things where, of course, the police officers are scared because douchebag over on the side that says, "Hey, I just want to record this thing. Hey, I'm just going to record this thing and see what's going on. But I'm going to start it, 2 minutes in after the fact, after what went down, the guy maybe swung on him or tried to hit the police officer, and the officer had to take him down." So you don't get the full story. Video's helpful, folks, but you got to get the whole story. Video does not always tell the entire story. And this is the scary part with our current society. We've got a lot of people that are video camera happy, but they're not happy enough or, got the guts to stand up and say, "Hey, there's something going wrong here." All you hear is about police brutality when in some cases they've been ruled not police brutality when they get an actual full video of what actually occurred. So folks, law enforcement's not there to hurt you. But here's the thing. If you don't follow the law will catch up to you. And who enforces the law? Law enforcement. Pretty simple concept, folks. So if we can start, respecting the police officers in the community and stop being idiots and morons trying to, get away, run from them. Here's the thing. I ran because I was scared. What were you scared of? You didn't commit a crime. They had a question maybe for your, something's going on in the neighborhood. Hey, so crime happened the other day. Do you happen to know something about it? Did you hear anything on the street? No, they run. So here's the thing. If you're running, especially in a high crime neighborhood, they're probably thinking you committed a crime at some point. Baltimore, Chicago, Cleveland, D.C., you name it. Strict gun laws, high crime, and homicides in Baltimore went out of control. They were always like, well, why is it going so high? Well, you locked up like 6 officers, right? So the police officers are scared to enforce the law. So, and we saw that in New York with de Blasio, and all of a sudden they said, hey, we're not going to be involved in this. We're just going to sit on the sideline and let the crime go up because we're not going to get involved. Crazy stuff going on in this country. Absolutely crazy stuff, folks. So I always say, make sure to, if you see a police officer, tell them thanks. Thanks for everything you do to protect our community, because the Democrats, they are not here to protect your community. Let's say we got Chris Berardi joining us tonight, co-host of the Tuesday night edition of the Broward Report. Chris, how are you?
Hey, Pat, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. As always, got a lot of politics to talk about on a Tuesday night edition of the program. Let's see where we're at in terms of the timeline. I did a couple stories that were interesting to pass the time before you came on tonight. Let's talk about, this is a good one. All right, Iowa presidential caucus numbers, real clear politics. And I guess we're going to kind of jump into some numbers here tonight. This is very interesting. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about maybe, some scenarios here. But the Iowa Republican Presidential Caucus, they're polling, and Carson's in the lead, Chris. This is quite a surprise.
Yeah, Carson's in the lead. He's, Trump is fading, at least in Iowa. And, it'll be interesting to see how he handles that in the debate on Wednesday night. But he certainly is trailing by a significant amount from what we've seen in polling right now. So, it'll be interesting to see if Trump maintains control, if he's someone who, how he handles being not in first right now. It's the first time he won't be in first at one of these debates. And the first time he's having to deal from coming from behind. So it'll be an interesting battle there. And, I don't think we have a whole lot of other issues when it comes to changes from the last poll. You still have the others in Iowa, Rubio, Cruz, Bush, going Rubio 10, Cruz 10, Bush 8. But the Iowa poll shows Carson 32, Trump 18. So a huge difference from where it was the last time we talked, Matt. Carson's really taking control.
Now, here's the thing, Chris. Why? I'm trying to figure out the why and the how factor. How is Carson in Iowa a lot more? I'm just trying to understand the dynamics of this. What are you hearing? What's the word through Republican circles? Why is there such a change all of a sudden?
I think there's a couple of things, Matt. I think the first is that Trump hasn't really been on the ground in Iowa like some of the other candidates have. And nationally, we see a little bit of a pullback from the media in covering every event he does. You'll remember at one point not too long ago, every time Trump gave a speech anywhere, Fox News covered it, CNN covered it, everybody had it running live. We're not seeing that right now. So that has certainly had an impact. Carson has actually made some statements that's been a little controversial on some issues. But what that's done is given him some name ID that he didn't have before. So I think it's a combination of Trump not being the dominant name everywhere, candidate says or knows. It's more about how much the candidate gets covered right now in general media. And, Carson, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if it's good or bad. His name has been mentioned more, and so now he's gotten some more name ID.
Yeah, very true. Now, Carson is up tremendously. It looks like Carson has a 8.6% bump. Now, I like polls, Chris. I know you do as well, because it kind of gives you a taste of what's going on out there. But they're not polling the same people over and over again if they're changing their minds. They're going out and getting a sample size of people at different times. I wish, Chris, that they would poll maybe 1,000 people. Say, hey, listen, go online, tell us who you're leaning towards right now. Like 1,000 registered Republicans, something a little bit more, I guess you could say, easier to judge by.
Always interesting, Matt, to see who is polled. And before I bring any of these polls to your show, to this show, I always make sure I look at who is polled. There are some other polls out there that show some different results, but the polls that I always pay attention to are the ones that show likely Republican voters. And there are other polls that show Republicans, and they've surveyed Republicans. Some other polls have been with Republicans and independents. But when you come right down to it, the only thing that matters is likely Republican voters. Now, when you determine likely, it means they've voted in previous caucuses in Iowa or primaries, whatever the case may be, depending on what state you're in. They're Republicans, they vote. So while I might be able to poll Republican voters in Iowa, it's meaningless if they're Republican voters that didn't vote, that don't vote, that are just registered. That doesn't mean anything. That's not a statistic that we really count. And it's the same when we talk a lot about these national polls. Everyone gets all this traction from national polls, and we've talked about this many times, Matt. We have a certain candidate leading nationally. That means absolutely nothing because we don't vote nationally. Electoral votes aren't proportioned nationally. So we care what Iowa says, we care what New Hampshire says, we care what South Carolina says individually. If we lump them all together and try to come out with who's on top, it's meaningless because we don't vote them.
And you're exactly right, Chris. That's the thing, is that we continue to hear, like on Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, all of the major news networks, and talk about national polls. Let's talk about, and I guess the big glamour thing is they want national polls. How is the nation feeling? Well, here's the thing. A lot of these candidates haven't even touched in a lot of areas. I mean, Trump was down here in Florida for a couple city visits, but you don't see, I think Carson's coming down here in early November as well. He's got a book signing here in Central Florida. So there's a lot of candidates that haven't even touched in Florida yet. But you're pretty much right with Carson. And the other candidates, they're going in Iowa. They're doing the ground game. Trump is not really doing a ground game in Iowa right now. I think Trump, this is the strategy part, I think Trump has a feeling he won't win Iowa anyways. I think he thinks Carson or Cruz will probably win, and he's just trying to hope for Super Tuesday to have a big turnout.
I think what we're seeing now is voters start to focus in on who they're actually thinking of voting for. We've been through the summer, and there have been, there's been so much talk about Trump. But now we're starting to see voters, especially in a state like Iowa and even New Hampshire, we're starting to see them really narrow down, the voters, narrow down who they could support. Now it becomes not the circus of media attention that it was. Now it becomes, especially if we're talking Iowa, it comes down to, have I met you? Have we talked? Do you one-on-one, have we gotten comfortable with each other, voter to candidate, and have we been able to have a conversation? Do I feel comfortable with you? Remember, Iowa's got like 90-something counties, and there's a caucus in each one, and you've got to have an incredible ground game to win Iowa. It doesn't happen because you've run a bunch of commercials, and it doesn't happen because everybody has heard of you around the country. You've got to get on the ground and work it in order to win Iowa. And I think that's why you're starting to see Trump fade away. Now, I don't think that Carson campaign is sustainable. He doesn't have a ground game either. So I think you may see him, because Iowa is a more values voter, for lack of a better term, values voter state. They're going to care more about social issues than most of the country, and certainly more than New Hampshire, which is the next big contest. So it really, really comes down to ground game and where you are on the social issues to win Iowa. And Trump doesn't make the cut on either of those. Carson makes it on the social issues, but not on the ground game. So it really becomes very interesting as to how the vote goes. And really, in Iowa, who comes in first, second, third, and then who carries over to New Hampshire? Because what you're looking for at that point, Matt, is somebody who could appeal to both Iowa and New Hampshire. Generally, it's not the same person.
It's not.
If you can be in the top three, if you can be in the top three in both of those states, then you're in pretty good shape.
They're two different kind of voters. You're talking about Midwestern, conservative, evangelical Christians typically turn out in Iowa for these caucuses. Now, remember, folks, people got to remember, there's a caucus in Iowa, then there's a primary in New Hampshire. They're almost like polar opposites in how they operate. Chris, tell the listeners, what's the difference between a caucus and between a primary? Because most people don't even understand the difference.
There's just a huge difference, Matt. A caucus, you are appealing by county to a room full of people and trying to convince them at that time to support you. And a primary is much more what we're used to in most states, where you are you've made your case. Election day happens, people go to the polls and cast their ballots. Entirely different setup. A caucus is much more retail politics, where you have got to know people. People in Iowa, if you haven't met them personally as a candidate, you probably aren't getting their vote. They have to have that personal touch. They expect it, having been the state that leads the voting, and a caucus just lends itself to that. Very few states that go with a caucus. You're going to have early on Iowa and Nevada that go with a caucus. Both very important, but Nevada means much, much less if you don't come through the first three states. Iowa with a caucus, New Hampshire and South Carolina with primaries. Nevada would be the fourth. So those are your top four states. Very, very different ways of doing things. Very, very different areas of the country. All of them have very different bells and whistles as far as what they care about. The hot button issues are far different in New Hampshire than they are in South Carolina, than they are in Iowa, and then you go out west to Nevada. So it's really some brilliance the way this plays out with the first four states, because you really, if you're going to be a candidate that comes out on top, you've really got to appeal to a broad base. So, it's an interesting process. And this time, Matt, for the first time in a couple of cycles at least, Florida doesn't really play into that. We're going to have Super Tuesday, which is many states, before we get to Florida. Florida doesn't come into play until mid-March, March 15th. So it's a big change for this election cycle. It used to later in the game, but Florida means more in number of delegates because where it was proportional delegates before, in other words, if I came in first, I get so many. If you came in second, you get so many. Now Florida is winner take all, so if I come in first, I get all the votes. I get all the delegates in Florida. So big changes. We're later in the cycle as a state, but more important in terms of votes. And in this particular election cycle, because there are so many candidates and so many differing leaders in each different state, Florida is still important, but for an entirely different reason, because that number of delegates, 39, is going to move somebody way ahead. So it's going to be a real interesting election cycle all around, but Florida is still going to have a huge impact on how this plays out.
Yeah, it's going to play out big time. And, let's talk about Jeb Bush for a second. Jeb Bush, 2-term governor, state of Florida, seen as a very successful governor here in Florida. It's been said, it's been reported the last couple of days, Chris, that he's been cutting salaries to his workers, his campaign workers. Now, that's just, when we heard about Rick Perry not paying his people, Chris, within days, he was out. Now, Jeb Bush has raised the most money out of all the candidates. Doesn't mean he has the most money. Donald Trump has the most money. But I don't see Jeb lasting to Florida. I think Super Tuesday's his big deal. If he does poorly, he's out. Chris, what do you think?
Let's just go through a couple of states real quick, Matt. In Iowa, and I don't want to go national because it doesn't mean anything, but in state by state, well, let's just take the top 3 states. Iowa, you have Carson leading at 32, Bush in 5th with 8%. In New Hampshire, you have Trump leading with 38, Bush in 3rd with 8%. South Carolina, you have Trump with 40%, Bush with 6% in 5th. For the amount of money that Bush has raised, for him to be in these levels is almost criminal. It's really pretty bad. It shows that you've got a candidate in Jeb that is not exciting anybody. He's not impressing anybody. I mean, New Hampshire, he has to win New Hampshire now. He has to win it. And he's 3rd. And 3rd, he's 30 points behind the leader. He's not even close right now. I think that if Bush isn't out in the next 30 days, he's certainly out if he doesn't win New Hampshire. And
Yeah.
it doesn't look like he's going to win. So that's the key state for him. Bush, no matter how much money he raised, he was never going to win Iowa. He just isn't perceived as conservative enough to win that state, and he never was. Even before Trump, even before Carson, Bush was never going to win Iowa, and I don't think there's anybody in his campaign who would have told you that he would win Iowa.
But Iowa's so important, Chris. Even if you don't win it, you got, it's like a horse race. Winner, you better place, you better show. If you don't, you're done. Top 3 going into New Hampshire get all the attention.
Historically, Iowa or New Hampshire, you got to be good in one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You can come in 5th in Iowa. If you win New Hampshire, you're still in the game. Those are the 2 keys because they're so different. But if you're not in the top, if you don't win either one, and you're not top 2 in either one, you're done. You're done when you're a candidate that has put up the amount of money and is spending the amount of money right now as Jeb is. Let's keep in mind, a lot of candidates
He's a terrible
He's a very
candidate.
governor, but a really bad candidate running for president right now.
He doesn't, and we talked about it so many times, Chris, but it's worth saying it again. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. He's annoyed by everything that's going on around him. It's like he yells at people. He screamed at people. He tries to make funny jokes, and he's completely off. I'm like, does he need the early bird special? I mean, the guy is played out. He needs some better advisors because they're giving him some bad advice, or he's just doing it on his own. I'm not saying maybe his advisors are doing it wrong, but something's wrong there. Something just doesn't look right.
You know, two things, Matt, in politics, and two phrases that I use with candidates all the time. It's paint or be painted, and it's if you're explaining, you're losing. And Jed's on the wrong side of both. He's being painted. He's not painting. So, in other words, he is being painted as the candidate with no energy by Donald Trump. Whether that's true or not, that is the perception of America right now. That Jeb is the candidate that just is out there and has no real oomph behind him. Why? Because that's what the picture is that Trump has painted. And guess who's been in charge of the media for the last 120 days? Donald Trump. So so Jeb has allowed himself to be painted as the candidate with no energy, and the media has just bought into it, fed into it. Jeb's done nothing to be able to change that. And the second part of that is if you're explaining, you're losing. Every one of Jeb's positions, every time Jeb talks, he's talking about, see, I have energy. See, you're responding to Donald Trump. If you're explaining, you're losing. He's explaining and he's losing.
Exactly.
That's where we are.
It's like Mitt Romney back in 12. He was always trying to explain, people trying to explain how he's a nice guy. I mean, if you're not coming across as a nice guy, you can have all the people in the world saying you're a nice guy. It's not working. It didn't work. I mean, that was what 2012 was all about. They're looking for a nice guy. They said, President Obama looks like a nicer guy. Well, it turned out to be a really bad mistake, re-electing the guy. But that's what people are unfortunately looking for, nice people to run the country. We don't need nice. We need people that can do the job. Most managers and people in charge of companies are not the nicest people in terms of perception, Chris, because they have to make tough decisions. They have to make decisions that affect people's lives, their own lives, the company as a whole. That's the problem, is we're always looking for nice people. And here's the thing. I think Ben Carson is getting a lot of play and a lot of support because, you know what, Chris? He's a nice guy. He's brilliant. He's a brain surgeon. The guy is just like, I would like to meet him and say, hey, Ben, you seem like the nicest guy, but can you give us some plans? Because the candidates, Chris, have given us really nothing in terms of how they're going to get anything changed. They talk a big game in generalities, but they're not giving us specifics. I think we're looking for specifics right now.
It's interesting because I don't think we are. If you have a candidate that put out specifics, I don't think there's any candidate running that has put out more specifics in terms of the game plan than Jeb Bush. But have you heard them?
Nope.
No. Nobody knows what they are because they've been put out in a very boring, old school, uninteresting kind of way. And that's not where politics is in 2015. He's run a very good 1988 campaign. His dad would be proud. They've run a very, very good campaign for 1988. The problem is that voters don't get news the way they got in 1988.
No, we have the internet.
News is a different way. And his campaign is not adapting to that.
Not at all. I mean, it's just, if you want to win a campaign, you've got to look at who's been winning campaigns. Democrats have won several, major elections. They won the presidency twice in a row. What were they doing that got out the vote and got it done? Now, I'll tell you, Chris, I notice this all the time. The Democrats, no matter, what lies are spreading or whatever they're trying to buy off, they go full speed ahead with what they're saying. they all stay on message no matter what. I mean, and the Republicans love them to death. I'm a registered Republican, Chris. I want them to have, you know, a liberty and freedom platform, but the problem is they start talking over each other. They start, you know, not sounding like they're on the same page, which, I mean, if you're 85, 90% on the same page, I get it, but it seems like every time the mainstream media, mainly ran by liberal Democrats, get a hold of this kind of stuff, they're like, the Republicans are in crisis. They can't agree on anything. Well, you don't talk about the 85 to 90% of the stuff they do agree on. That's the issue. But the narrative plays out in the media, and the sheeple, I guess I call them sheeple out there, that don't understand what's really going on in the background and why they're getting, you know, this information sent to them. They don't understand the dynamics behind the scenes. That's the scary part. People don't understand politics.
Well, we miss so many opportunities as a party. You know, we're never as a party going to all come together and sing from the same hymnal. We're just not, because there are so many different factions. But here's where we miss the mark as a party. We don't take that up as a positive thing. We don't portray that as a positive thing. So we constantly hear how we're infighting. But what's worse? What's worse, Matt? And why don't we portray this as a party? What's worse? The Democrats who have one idea and we all have to get behind it. Talk about cheap. Talk about the blind leading the blind. We have one stupid idea on the Democrat side, and everyone decides they're going to get behind it because we all have to be on the same page. Well, on the Republican side, we have differing ideas that we want to debate to come up with the best idea. How hard is that to explain to the general public? How hard is it to say, no, we don't all agree because we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different ways that we want to see America succeed. None are as backward as the Democrats. And we're going to come together eventually and come up with the best plan because, you know, if everyone's thinking alike, then someone's not thinking. Haven't we heard that before? Hasn't everyone heard that before? If we're all thinking and we're all comparing ideas, we're all compromising, we're sharing ideas, don't we come up with a better idea because we've all worked from different perspectives? We do an awful job of explaining that as Republicans. And the Democrats just get a pass for blindly agreeing with whatever idea comes up first, no matter how awful it may be.
Exactly. 100% agree with you. 100%. You nailed it. Let's talk about good old, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. This came out of Fox News Politics. Sanders goes hard on Clinton after last week's events. Debate success steadies her campaign. It reads, Democrat presidential contender Senator Bernie Sanders is clearly sharpening his attack on frontrunner Hillary Clinton with her campaign on Sunday, even acknowledging the change amid Clinton's recent surge. Sanders argued on Saturday that he's been a steadfast progressive on such key issues as Keystone XL Pipeline, while Clinton makes her decisions based on polling. I got to admit, Bernie Sanders has always been a socialist/communist. The guy should be running in Greece rather than the United States, Chris. Hillary Clinton does rely on polling a lot to, morph in. I guess she's a chameleon of politics. She continues to change her positions on everything to satisfy enough people to get her voted into office. I don't see Bernie Sanders as getting through the primary. He's more of a protest vote than anything else. We had Lincoln Chafee, i.e., looks like a vampire. He dropped out, and Webb dropped out. I think who's the other one that's still there? O'Malley.
Mark O'Malley.
Yeah, you got three of them left. It's like the Three Stooges.
That's right. None of the Democrats know who else is in either. So that's okay.
Yeah, it's like the Three Stooges are up there at the next debate for the Democrats. It's like, can we get some, I'm not a Democrat, but here's the thing. I would like some people to have some options here. I mean, you got Hillary Clinton, flapping in the wind. She's a sail. Bernie Sanders he's the kind of guy that we fought World War II against in World War I. In all these other wars, he's a socialist. He wants to, take money and wealth away from people to give it to other people to buy their votes. That's a scary type of person. And O'Malley, he's just bragging about how Baltimore's a great thing and Maryland's such a great thing, yet they have such racial tension, high crime rates, low test scores. They tax rainwater in Maryland. All these bad things, O'Malley, but the Democrats love these kind of people. I don't get that. They don't look at the facts.
Well, look, Martin Scorsese has a better chance of being president than Martin O'Malley. So Martin O'Malley should give it up. I mean, he's awfully bad. As mayor, he was the mayor of Baltimore. That should be strike one. As governor of Maryland, he proposed and passed they were the only state under his watch that had a rain tax. So really not the guy you want to lead your country. And he's polling at 5%. So we should just stop talking about it. Right now, Iowa, Clinton is up 41% over Bernie. And so let me say this about Sanders now, all of a sudden coming out and being aggressive. It's just total crap. If Sanders wanted to be aggressive, he shouldn't have said that Hillary's damn emails don't matter.
Exactly.
They have the other side. Well, as soon as he said that, he genuflected and bowed to Queen Hillary and gave away the campaign. And so for him to be aggressive now is absolutely meaningless. He missed his chance. He gave it up to her. It's kind of like he wants to be the bully until he's in front of the person, and then he runs away and hides. So Bernie Sanders can talk all he wants. Colonel Sanders has a better chance of being president than Bernie. So it's done, and he should just go home, give it up, and go back to being the socialist from wherever it is he came from. Hillary will be the nominee on the Democrat side, assuming she's not in jail. And I'm good as a solid Republican. I'm good with that because she is the person I've wanted to campaign against as a Republican the entire time. We know her. The American people knows her. They know her. The American people don't like her and don't trust her. It's been demonstrated in poll after poll after poll. So, while she may appeal to the Democrats right now, and she may seem like she is being coronated on the Democrat side, that's great. I don't care because the majority of America doesn't trust her or like her, and when you're not trusted or liked, you don't win elections for President of the United States. So, bring it on. Wanted to face her. Can't wait.
Let's talk about this. It looks like, from what I've been seeing, Chris, Donald Trump's going to be hosting Saturday Night Live. Am I right here? Is this true?
This is great. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, now Ben Carson kind of hit back a little bit at Trump. Says Carson, in an interview with The Hill, said he is not interested in hosting Saturday Night Live. Here's his quote. "I think the presidency of the United States is a very serious thing," he said in an interview with Bloomberg Politics. He said, I don't even want to begin to put it in the lightness of comedy. It says, with all due respect. It says Trump's slated to host SNL on November 7th, and Democrat presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton appeared on the show recently for a skit. Now, if Carson gets some traction here in terms of, hey, I'm the real serious candidate here, I'm not having to go on, a comedy show to get my message out there. I think this might play better for Ben Carson in terms of the serious voters that are really looking for some kind of substance. Now, the people are looking for more of a Real Housewives of New York type thing or Real Housewives of Atlanta type candidate. Maybe that's Donald Trump in this situation because he's more into the social thing. It could play both ways, Chris. How do you think this is going to play out with Donald Trump on SNL and Ben Carson calling him out saying he doesn't want to do it?
So with all due respect to Ben Carson, I think Donald Trump's campaign, what I would be saying in response to that is, well, of course you don't want to do it. Nobody asked you to do it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good response.
Donald Trump doing it because that's who America wants to see. That's who's going to get the ratings on Saturday Night Live. Put Ben Carson on Saturday Night Live and see how many people are still awake at 11:30 when it goes on. They won't be. He won't keep them awake. And, if I were the Trump campaign, that would be my response.
That'd be a good response.
Politics involves multimedia, and it's not Kennedy versus Nixon in a debate in black and white on TV. That's not where politics is today. Like it or not, agree with it or not, it's just not where it is. So Ben Carson can stand on principle. Not that he was asked to be on SNL, but he can stand on principle, and that's fine. But keep in mind that he's only appealing to a certain audience, and he's missing out on a bigger audience. And he only wants to campaign to some people, not everybody. That will cost him in the end.
Exactly. Well, let's talk before I do the feel-good story of the day coming up at the end of the show, Chris. We got a debate tomorrow night. And, folks, just want to let you know we're not doing a show tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take the night off tomorrow because I want to make sure everybody has the ability to watch the debate, including all the staff, to make sure we know what's going on with the candidates. Big bold predictions, Chris. What do you see coming out tomorrow night? Who's going to do really good? If someone does really bad, what happens? Give us your version of what we might be seeing tomorrow night.
Yeah, in the past when we've done this, Matt, I've only gone through a couple and said, hey, here's what I think. But I'm going to go through real quick because I think this is a pretty crucial debate for a lot of people. I'm just going to go through each one in real brief sentences as to what I think they need to do or what needs to happen for each of them. So, for Trump, I think that the interesting thing is I'm not going to even mention it because he defies logic to me. So I don't have any advice for him. Every time I think he does something bad or says something stupid, he goes up in the polls. So anything I could possibly say advice-wise to Donald Trump, if he did the opposite, his numbers will probably go up. I don't know how else to strike it. Carson has to weather the storm at the front line. He's going to be attacked now because he's in the lead, at least in Iowa. He's going to get arrows thrown at him that he hadn't had before. How he handles it is going to be critical. Rubio needs to do what he did in the last two debates. Rubio has done a great job of being consistent and being consistently the best speaker and the person who can make you believe in what he's saying up there, and he just needs to continue to do that, and he'll be in good shape. Cruz is a great debater, but this isn't a debate. He needs to seem less scripted and connect better with the people. Bush has to be seen as not a wimp and not boring, and he has to be seen as somebody who actually wants to be the president, and I don't think he's done that so far. Fiorina needs to do the same thing that she's done in every other debate, but assuming she does just as well, she then needs to follow it up the day after the debate and ongoing and actually go campaign and raise money off of it. She's not done it. She's performed well in debates and then faded into the background. She can't afford to do that again. Rand Paul needs to throw the Hail Mary, so God knows what he's going to say. But whatever it is, it better be something that draws attention and impacts the entire race and gives him some headlines. I don't think he can do it, but he has to do it. Huckabee just needs to go home. Christie needs to stay off Amtrak. And
that's a disaster, man. Disaster.
If I missed anybody, it's because they don't belong in the race at all. They just need to quit.
That's a good one. I like that. I like that. Anybody at the, I guess they have a 6 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. I think the 6 o'clock group just needs to cut it out. And I didn't even look, who's on at 6 o'clock, Chris? I mean, is it like the bottom 5 or 6 or something? I don't even know who's at the 6 o'clock.
No, I don't. I think Lincoln Chafee is going to be part of that just because he has nothing else to do. I really don't know. I mean, Lincoln Chafee may come in and shoo Rick Santorum because he's used to doing the horseshoe. I don't know. I mean, but the one thing we can be sure of in the 6 o'clock debate, nobody cares.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not going to be a rising and shining star of that debate, that's for sure. Especially at the 6 o'clock hour East Coast. I mean, people aren't even home, generally Central Time and back. I mean, no one's even home, so they're getting very little exposure to begin with. So we'll see how that goes.
If you're in California and you actually have a job, go to work. If you don't, just go to happy hour. You're not missing anything.
Definitely not missing a single thing. Chris, I want to say thank you again for coming on the program. I greatly appreciate it. And we will be live next Tuesday night handicapping what happened on the debate. Thanks again, Chris.
Looking forward to it, Matt. Thank you.
Chris Brady, everyone, Republican strategist and co-host of the Tuesday night edition of the show. We greatly appreciate all his hard work and dedication to the program on the Brower Report. All right, folks, here's the thing. We do the feel-good story of the day. You know why? The people demand the feel-good story. You know what? I like doing the feel-good story. It's kind of grown on me a little bit. Actually, a lot. I really enjoy the feel-good story of the day because we need to share positive, uplifting stories. We do at the end of the show, every show, to make sure that people understand that there is some hope out there, especially when we have talks about so many serious issues during the program. We posted this tonight about 6 or 7 minutes ago on Facebook.com/Brower Report. Officers with Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department went above and beyond to help a woman and her children escape an abusive husband. The police called shelters, but no one had room for a family of 6. Officers Overman, Williams, and Pupo took the family to a hotel, used their own money to pay for 2 nights. They also bought the family dinner and enough money for breakfast. See, these police officers didn't have to do this. They did not have to do that. They went above and beyond because you know what? That's what good people do. The government it's not saving these people. But normal, everyday officers making a difference every day. That's what they do. You might see some viral videos of something going on, which you don't have the whole truth. But it's just another feel-good story where police officers go above and beyond every day to help people. Another great example of that. So go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Brower Report. It posted around 8:50 tonight on the timeline. So go there, like it, and share it with your friends and family. Another feel-good story. Remember, folks, just a reminder, Wednesday night we are off the air because of the Republican debate. So watch the debate on CNBC and let us know what you feel. Post on our Facebook page. Tell us what's going on. Remember, BrowerReport.com is your home of news and views that you can use because we're looking out for you, the American people. Don't forget, like us and follow us on Periscope, Twitter, and Facebook. All you got to do is just type those things in and do Brower Report. And remember, we post all of the videos that we do record and are able to post on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com, search Brower Report right there, and you'll get the latest videos that you can watch on your device, laptop, PC, however you want to watch it. Pretty much you can watch it on YouTube. It's pretty cool. So thanks again for watching and listening to the show. We greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, blogtalkradio.com/Brower Report. If you want to listen live on the internet on your smartphone, you can stream it live from your device. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening. We'll be back Thursday night with Bill and Barry as we talk hot topics with Bill and talk about hot items from Barry Seacrest's website, conservativerefocus.com. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening, and we'll see you, and you can hear us on Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. Good night.